This is Tech Me As I Am, a video series and podcast where self-love is shaking up the status quo of corporate America. We're diving into authentic stories that are creating space for you to feel seen, be vulnerable, and succeed working in the everyday. So let's be real, let's be different, and let's get courageous, y'all.
Hey everyone, my name's Erin Reddick. I'm excited to be here on set for the Tech Me As I Am podcast. I'm the founder and CEO of ChatBlackGPT. We're in the business of culturally informed AI. Today we're going to have a discussion about how you can get involved, the importance of representation in AI, and a lot more. Look forward to seeing you there.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Brittany Mack, and we have a phenomenal guest joining us today. We're going to be talking about some algorithms and a lot more. I'm so excited to welcome Erin today. She's going to be helping us understand a little bit more about some AI, but specifically the Black version, ChatBlackGPT. Erin Reddick, I'm so happy to have you here today, girl.
Thank you.
So happy. First off, I know AI is booming. This is something that everyone's talking about today. You've created something very unique and special. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what you're doing with ChatBlackGPT? I mean, why?
Yeah, absolutely. So the why is really easy. There's not enough representation to give everyone the AI experience that they deserve. I believe representation inside of generative AI that people can interact with, that they can actually relate to, is very important. Because how you use the tool in your personal lives or even entrepreneurially, it matters the answer it gives and the data that it pulls from.
Absolutely. And I know that the world that we live in has a lot of bias, has a lot of things that leave people of color out of the conversations. And so one of the things that really resonated with me is the fact that you're creating a space for people to feel like they're included. And so I just wanted to learn a little bit more about how you got started. Talk to us a little bit about like your background, where you came from and why.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I believe storytelling is a big part of how you can really evolve a product into something meaningful. So I started, my life in Michigan. And when I was younger, all I could really think of as far as like the best job was like call center manager. That's as big as my imagination got in a city that wasn't really so tech forward. And when I heard about all of the different headquarters that were in Seattle, I ventured out when I was older and I started contracting. So I worked at Amazon, I worked at Microsoft, contracted at Meta, and I ended up converting full-time there. And it was a wonderful experience. Definitely learned a lot. When I was laid off, like so many others, I decided that I wasn't going to let a company define whether or not I was a Black woman in tech or in tech at all. So I took it upon myself to study what was going to be the new emerging sector of technology, and that happened to be AI.
So powerful and inspiring, and just shows how important it is to push your limits, push past the things that you see in front of you, and knowing that you're capable of being able to become anything that you want to be. You're a living representation of that, Erin, and I'm just so thankful that you're here with us. Can we talk a little bit more about why you chose AI, specifically ChatGPT?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in studying and kind of deciding which direction I wanted to go, I wanted to make sure that I embodied the saying that says, if you know you can do it, you're not dreaming big enough. And AI was one of the things that I was very unsure of, like so many of us out there. It's always in your face, but you don't exactly know how to approach it or what's required. And it was the same with quantum. Obviously, there's, quantum physics and a lot of schooling that you need to be in there. But I just looked up some of the books they use in those classrooms and started joining Discord channels. There's ways to approach it. But I chose generative AI because it is the most average, common introduction to AI, in my opinion, for the normal person. And when doing research, I noticed there was two different narratives. In the news, you see that, AI is racist, it's biased. And the other side is saying, it's great, it's amazing. And I'm like, why do I get one message and everyone else gets another? And so in looking for areas to make impact, I thought that this would be the most accessible route, as well as the wider amount of impact.
That's so powerful. And I think to your point, having a larger impact, I mean, AI is eating everything. It's embedded in everything. It's doing all the different things out there right now. And I feel like it's like the new internet, like the boom of the internet, but, you know, a genie version. I call ChatGPT like a genie to me, because anything you tell it to do, it does, right? Can you talk to us about why the need for a Black version of ChatGPT? Why did that resonate so much for you? You're saying something about the two narratives there. You know, what did you feel like needed to be included in a conversation that wasn't being had?
Sure. So a lot of the discussions around AI and the racism and things that surface was a lot of like data. It's the data, and there's not enough Black data out there. And I kind of was like, I think we've been on the internet for a while. So I decided, you know, I pushed against that. I said, okay, so classic racism is in the data, sure. But modern racism, in the sense of not having inclusive design, not having, you know, diverse leadership, that is like algorithm racism in a way, because we're not part of how it's instructed to work enough or tested rigorously enough.
So in your idea of having a need to create ChatBlackGPT, why did you feel like that was an area of focus that you had to lean in on? Like, what type of conversations did you feel like we were being left out of in order to have a ChatBlackGPT version?
Yeah, so when you have a product being developed and there's not enough inclusion in that design cycle, you should have points throughout entire product development where you check in for bias mitigation, risk mitigation of all different kinds. And when you get to an end product and you're releasing it to the public, and there's pieces of it that are harmful for one group that were overlooked or not tested rigorously enough, that's not okay. And I feel like the Black population was the expense of uninclusive design. And I didn't think that was okay to just settle with. And I don't think trickle-down equity works, which is going all the way up to the top and saying, you know, we need a seat at the table and we need to have this influence. I think that is a very optimistic but unrealistic solution, because there's a lot of glass, you know, when it gets to the top. How many directors are like 5-10-year directors that are Black women and men that never get made VP? You know, like that influence area isn't as accessible and also would take too long. So having a version where the algorithm is surfacing Black authors, Black scholars, scientists, you know, first as a priority helps shape the experience in a more relatable way. Because right now it's very Eurocentric, and that's not fair for us to engage in if it's going to be harming us.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think that it's very important for us to think about those type of spaces. It's very important for us to also think about the equity portion of things. I think anytime that we really want equity and we think about these things, I feel like it's a very generic conversation most times. And it's not authentic, really getting to the reason why. Like, people just want to feel like they're included in something.
Yeah.
And the need to have to constantly push and saying, hey, I exist, I'm here. That's the reason these type of things are being created. It's like, I'm here, but we can't sit back and let someone do it for us. We have to constantly push the needle to show up and say, hey, I know you're not going to do it for me, so I have to do it myself. And so I think when we think about like loving ourselves, and the importance of loving ourselves, it really allows us to have space to know how to stand up for ourselves and create a space for us. That resilience, like, you know, I think we were talking about, like, I'm tired of being resilient. Like, I don't want to be resilient anymore. I want to just be included. But, you know, I guess what I'm really trying to say too is I just really appreciate the fact that you're creating something. And I think it takes a lot of love for yourself to be able to push on and continue through and make something and use your voice, because I think it's very courageous. It requires courageousness. So thank you. Awesome. So when we think about the functionalities of ChatGPT, AI for progress, right? Can you talk to us about like what ChatGPT is for users that don't know what it is today? And then talk to us about like what would you do with it? I think like just getting us to the like, how do I use this thing and what's the best way to use it, and I'll go from there.
Sure. So ChatGPT is something that's going to respond to any kind of questions that you have. It is basically built off of like the information of the internet, but how it works is it's predicting the most likely next word that's going to give you a satisfactory answer. And so when you have a opportunity to ask something that's going to think a lot bigger than humans have the capacity to in a very quick way, it's advantageous in multiple areas. That can be your personal life, your entrepreneurial endeavors, your work environment, and it is an incredible opportunity for us to interact with something that we can kind of have our own experience with. And so, for example, if you are somebody who is using ChatBlackGPT and you want to walk your daughter or child through being proud of their hair, you can say, what are some ways that I can help my daughter understand that her hair is special when other kids are making fun of her? And it will break down different steps that you can take to give them a safe space to express themselves, a book that they can read that actually helps them celebrate their hair, different affirmations, and so on. So I think of it as also like a thought partner. And then you have the opportunity so you can just entrepreneurially take off. Like if you're trying to start up a business that requires a lot of marketing, you can say, give me a marketing plan for somebody who wants to be a nail technician or somebody who wants to go and do individual like cybersecurity contracting. You can ask it those questions and it'll give you a step-by-step plan that's pretty plausible. And, you know, obviously you want to go back and check and like make sure, but it can give you the framework to start doing anything. There's so many different uses.
Absolutely. That's why I call it a genie in a bottle for me. Like, and I don't mean to put a Christina Aguilera, but I mean, it really is. It's like the computer version of it. Seriously, it's helped me in so many different ways. And I think it's very important for us to understand how to make use of it.
Oh, yeah.
What would you think the broader vision is of using AI for the Black community and how we can think about uplifting the Black community in ChatGPT?
Sure. So the nature of the technology itself, in my opinion, is to make you smarter, better, faster. And with that kind of power in your hands, I don't think we need to ask to be included anymore. I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have self-awarded equity in the technology space. That means just using it to answer questions, navigate different, difficulties that we encounter, having, our kind of business endeavors understood differently, learning from people that have succeeded, but having that information surface first, like it helps us get faster where we need to go. And there's obviously a tech divide, right? So with the tech divide, it's not just affording technology, it's about the access to having the literacy opportunity, the environments that are encouraging of using technology. So if you have like I said, this double narrative and one class of people is being scared from something that's so powerful, here we have an opportunity to say, hey, let's make it less scary and get it into our hands so we don't have to say, hey, can somebody else make this less scary and hurtful for us, please? Like, we don't have to do that. We can come in and create our own equity in our own space and take off.
Yeah, I love that. And I know when we were having dinner the other night, you had talked a little bit about the vision of like with re-citizenship and like what you're looking at doing. Could you tell us a little bit more about what your vision is overall for where you want this to go and how you're thinking about people who have been, incarcerated or people who have coming from disadvantaged communities, how this can help them as well?
Yeah, so when I think about how much I care about the Black community, it's not from a specific narrow lens, right? I'm trying to create impact on all different fronts. Like, why are people racist, and why do they have these systems in place? Why do they live in privilege and not acknowledge things? So ChatGPT, the customizable ChatBlackGPT, allows for an instant opportunity to explore some of those biases, right? So if you have a question like, hey, why do I get scared of Black people? Or why are Black women angry? It will tell you like, hey, this is a harsh stereotype that comes from XYZ. Or it'll tell you, hey, systemically, this is the way that Black and brown people have been portrayed. So it's made to also be an opportunity for people to have their own private, introspective conversations with things they're afraid to ask. The other point would be returning citizens. So that's another thing people, I think, are mostly like racist about, right? Like, oh, there's so much like crime and even though it's ridiculous. But if you look at it from all angles, there are certain systems that will teach returning citizens how to do programming, like mastery level of Python and different, like Java, things like that. So with that skill and AI acumen and understanding, which we're building curriculum and giving like access to ChatBlackGPT, putting that skill with this skill, entrepreneurially, they can just take off, and just create a whole new realm of opportunities. The CIA, even they seek out troubled youth, troubled people with pasts that aren't so traditional, because when your mind thinks differently, that gives you a whole new value, because your perspective through your trauma has made you like especially specifically certain of like different skill sets. So giving them the opportunity to take off in AI with that code base like knowledge, huge.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a couple other angles as well. So
I love that. And I love the perspective you're bringing to the table with that, the experiences, the traumas, and unpacking that and allowing people to have access to something that will build for the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to kind of ask a couple last things here. The final words that I want to kind of do are a rapid fire questions. So one of the things that I want to find out and see if the guests would be interested in hearing is, what are some of the books that you're reading or podcasts maybe you're listening to right now, so they can maybe get their head in the game and start thinking about different ways that they can start building their future.
Oh, absolutely. Well, obviously, Tech Me As I Am is an incredible resource that everyone should be listening to.
Thank you.
Yes. And I really appreciate that, because this is such a popular topic. There's a lot of opportunity for people to start educating themselves immediately. So there's a YouTube channel with a guy named Matt Wolf, and he does AI news. Every single thing that comes out, every single new large language model or, testing against them and like all the different specs of each of them, fine-tuning tools, all that. He reviews it like almost daily. So you can find out and keep up with what's going on.
Okay.
Just from like AI news channels. That's a very good, easy beginner resource. Also, you have open source material like on LinkedIn Learning, where you can look at AI courses. There's learning tracks that are like from 6 to 10, 12 hours even, where you can really get that base knowledge going. And also, you can get hands-on, like that's a great opportunity to learn. And some books would be Artificial Unintelligence, Algorithms of Oppression. There is Unmasking AI by Dr. Joy. Go ahead and look these up and make sure you're, giving yourself the opportunity to be enlightened.
Yeah. Awesome. And then last rapid fire question. When you're jamming out in the car and you have a song that you got to play to hype yourself up, what song is that you're playing?
So it's actually Tame Impala, Breathe Slow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one. You're gonna have to give me that information so I can try to jam out to it. What does it make you feel like when you listen to it?
So it's kind of about recreational, indulgence, but there's a line in it, the main one, and it says, if you think that I can't hold my own, believe me, I can. And that line just keeps you going,
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And you got to hold your own these days.
Yes.
For sure. So, well, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm so appreciative. I'm so thankful, humbled to have you here. And yeah, I'm just really thankful. So thanks so much for being here.